Good evening and welcome to Conversations with Crystal. I'm your hostess, Crystal, and this evening I have an absolutely fantastic guest lined up for you. It's Tony Cini from Blues on the Water Cruises. Everybody, please welcome Tony Cini. How are you, Tony?
Good, Crystal, and hope everybody else is too.
I'm doing really well. Thanks, Tony. Look, I've seen you around for quite a while, and I think that what you do for the industry, the blues industry and the music industry, is nothing short of amazing. You always go above and beyond, and I've heard it said many times about you what a lovely, genuine
No,
man you
thanks,
are.
Crystal. Look, um, we were so lucky that my parents decided to immigrate here in 1954. There was three kids back then. I'm the eldest of the three, and
Mm-hmm.
I like to give back to the country because the country's been so good to me. The country and its people. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I know the biggest thing that you do, or one of the biggest things, because there's many, is blues on the
Yeah.
water
Yeah.
cruises, which I think is an absolutely fantastic thing. Now, Tony, what was the idea behind getting blues on the water cruises going?
Okay, so you know, I I come from a rock background originally, right? And even the blues we play in the band in the Ark Riders, it's blues rock. So answering your question, um, when I decided to move to blues, um, I'd spent a lot of time with Rick Lum, like from Hush, if
Yes,
you remember Hush,
yes.
and we used to do many gigs together. And funny enough, when I joined my first blues band, Rick had joined the same band a week earlier,
Oh,
as their bass player.
hmm.
So, you know, because we were all new, the whole six of us, because there was six members in the Gin House Blues Band, um, we didn't know who to contact for gigs. So, we knocked on a few doors, a few little hotels, and started that way. But then, to answer your question with the harbour cruise, we heard that there was a boat, the Rocks Rhythm Boat, and they were putting live music um, on. So what you had to do is you had to hire the boat and basically get your own fan base, or you know get people
Followers,
interested
yeah.
in doing it. Yeah,
Mm.
into doing a cruise,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we started, and that was successful for 20 whole years. Um,
Wow.
yeah, back then there was no internet, and it was like all word of mouth. But we were a lot younger, and you know,
That's a great
people.
achievement. Great
Yeah,
achievement.
yeah, 20 years. So then, when the Gin House Blues Band finally folded after 20 years, Leah said to me, uh, "Well, that's the end of an era." And I just shook my head and said, "No." She goes, "What do you mean, no? Like the band split?" I said, "Yes." I said, "But whether I'm playing on that cruise or not, it's such a good day out that I'm going to come up with an idea to keep it going." So,
Fantastic. Fantastic.
yeah. So I took some time out, and one day Blues on the Water came in my head, and I thought, wow, what a great name.
Yes, it
But I
is.
bet you, with a name like that, it's got to be registered. And I Googled, and guess what? It
It
wasn't
wasn't.
registered. So I immediately registered it and thought, I said to Leah, well, we've got the name. You know what we're going to do now? We're going to put Australia's best blues bands on. And as Blues on the Water, um, it's been another 10 years come January 2024. So, in about 4 months' time or so, it would have been 10 years of Blues on the Water and 20 years as the Gin House Blues Band gig. So 30 years altogether.
Congratulations. That is a great achievement. It really, really is. Now,
No, thank you.
I'd like to know, are you going to have a birthday party for your 10 years?
Look, there will. We've got Lloyd Spiegel. That's going to be like, we're flying Lloyd up from Melbourne. He's got the trio now. So that's going to be on the, it's the 20th of January. Now, Lloyd is like one of the finest musicians in the world. And, he always sells out really quickly. So that's going to be our special 30th anniversary birthday.
Oh, 30th anniversary. Excuse me. I said 10 years. I beg your pardon.
Well, it's 10 years of Blues on the Water, but I'm combining the whole lot. We've been on Sydney Harbour for 30 years.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the 30th anniversary
of its inception.
Yeah, exactly. And there's going to be 30th anniversary T-shirts, etc. Yeah.
Oh, people will love that, I'm sure. When are the tickets going on sale, and where can people purchase them from?
So at the moment we've got Dom Turner's Rural Blues Project on sale, and that's on the 7th of October. This is all off the top of my head now.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Bondi Cigars on the 18th of December. So it'll go on sale after the cigars. We never put, 2 gigs on sale at the one time. Yeah. So answering your question once again, I would say that after the 18th of November.
Yeah.
Did I say November?
I'm not sure. Sorry.
It is November.
November, yeah.
That's when Lloyd's tickets will go on sale.
Okay, that's cool. And Bondi Cigars, they've been around forever, and I know Al, and he's gentleman. He's the best gentleman ever.
Oh, look, Al and I go back 30 years now, and actually you mentioned PJ before we went to air. PJ and Al were part of the Gin House Blues Band, so Al would be doing it in between his Bondi Cigars gigs, right?
Yeah.
And PJ, and I think we spent about 4.5 years together as a unit.
Wow.
And it was a really good unit, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, PJ's just one of those players that, you just stand there and go, oh, my God, where's that coming from?
I know. I'm actually going to his birthday party at the Butcher's Brew. I think it's next month. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Tony, what was your earliest influence or inspiration for music?
Okay. So, I was born in 1951. So when we immigrated here from Malta, and I was 8 years old, I can remember hearing this song, and it was the first song that ever pricked my ears up. And I remember, because I was only, obviously 8 years old, we had one of those radios with the round dial, and I remember getting a stool and standing and putting my ear up against the radio, and it was Elvis Presley's Teddy Bear. So Elvis was my first inspiration. And then, in the early 60s, not early 60s, when was it? It was about 69, I think, 68, 69. Hendrix came along and blew my mind.
I think he blew everybody's mind, even his own.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So they were my earliest inspirations. And then come 85, I discovered a guy called Rory Gallagher, who from 85 on, he's like he passed away quite a few years ago now, about 32 years ago. But he is my favourite guitar player. So,
Wow.
yeah, they're the three people that really blew me away.
Now, did you have music at home? Were your parents musical? Maybe your mum sang, or was there music in the home apart from the radio?
Look, mum and dad were never musicians, but they absolutely loved music, and I think that was one thing that helped me, really get into music. I mean, I remember Dad buying a piano and accordion at one time and giving that a shot. But you know, the other thing I can remember is when we um, came. Not the first time we came here, because we ended up going back to Malta and coming back. But the second time, if there was anything on the boat, because the boat took 6 weeks to get here, you know, whether it was a pantomime or anything to do with music, even with music, they just auditioned to be part of it.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, my parents both loved music.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
yeah.
So, when did you play guitar, I gather? No?
I don't. I was always too lazy. My father bought me a guitar. My father bought me a keyboard, and guess what? I just wanted to chase women. So lucky I've got a little bit of a singing voice, but till this day, I really regret it, because if I could give anything, I'd love to play guitar. I'd love to play guitar.
Do you know the girls all love a guitarist that can sing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and they'd love my young guy, because the reason I um, reformed the Arc Riders, my current band, is because I found a young English guy who was 20. He's just turned 21. His name is Ewan Lund.
Oh, you and Lund. Oh, my God.
And
Yeah.
well, you've just reacted, and everybody reacts like you have just done, Crystal, and that's why I reformed the band.
Yeah, look, I saw Ewan playing with another band previously, and I
Yeah,
just went, like PJ, I just went, oh my God. He's one of those players again that you can be standing outside and hear the guitar playing and go, oh, I know who that is.
yeah, that's right.
He has a
Yeah.
very distinctive voice, and he's so young. How old did you say? 20
So
odd?
he was 20, and he just turned 21 about less than 2 months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
21, and to have such a gift as
a
that.
gift. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Look,
I think you picked a good person.
well, the thing is that I had an Argentinian guitar player before Ewan, 7 years ago, and then I was completely destroyed when they wouldn't give him and his wife visas, and they were the two nicest people on earth. You couldn't meet nicer people.
Yeah.
And I just brought the axe down on the band, because his name was um, Juan Pablo Ordonez, and he played as good as his name sounds.
Wow.
And I just bought the axe, and it wasn't until Ewan come along 7 years later that I thought, okay, this is the time to reform the band now.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
I can't wait, because um, on the 30th, which is not long now, of September, we're doing Blues on the Water with Chase the Sun. So
Oh, yeah, right.
that's going to be really good.
Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. I don't know whether I can get this to air before then, unfortunately.
Oh, look, it's
Although,
sold out. It's
oh,
sold out
sold
within a
out. Well, that
week.
solves that
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah.
But and so people can go on to Blues on the Cruise website and book and get tickets for the different events on there, I gather.
So look, at the moment we're having a few problems with the website. Hopefully it'll be fixed up in the next week or so, but they can go to the Blues on the Water Facebook page.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's if if they're interested in the Dom Turner cruise, there's still tickets for that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I say to people, Crystal, is if you can look me in the eye and tell me you haven't had one of the best afternoons of your life, then I'll refund your money back. And I really mean that.
Yeah,
And that's why I've been doing it for 30 years. People have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I bet you never once people have said they haven't had a good time.
Never,
Never.
never.
No.
It's just people that come on for the first time go, oh, how come you've been going for 30 years? How come I didn't know about this before? Well, I'm afraid the blues scene is small.
Yes.
And unless you're in it or somebody introduces you to it,
Yeah.
then, you're not going to find out that easily because,
No.
gone are the days where you could put ads in newspapers, music magazines, etc.
Yes, unfortunately, hey.
Yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately, and what I've found is that we have such a lovely blues community with such fantastic people in it, but it's
yeah.
just not known enough.
I know. Look, and this is why, you know, I'm I, I need to get an army of people because, like, I'm one person, but
Hmm.
I'm really look. I'm 72 next month, and there's just no stopping me.
Yeah.
I just want to see a look. I was invited to Melbourne um, last the week before last because I was lucky enough to get into Pauline Bailey's Blues Portrait,
Mm-hmm.
volumes 1 to 4. And at the same time, the Blues Challenge was on for Memphis.
Yeah.
And honest to God, they've got such a great scene. And if we can get a scene half as good as them, I'd be happy.
Oh, definitely.
So,
What do you think the difference is, Tony? Why
look,
is it that it's so huge in Melbourne, but
yeah,
maybe not so huge here?
look, the easy answer to that one is they're a lot more supportive in Melbourne,
Okay. Hmm.
and they just, if I was just so blown away with the Melbourne Blues Society that they went beyond what was required, and I'd give them a 12 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
That's how good it was.
Is there anybody
Yeah.
down there you would like to specifically give a shout out to?
In Melbourne,
Yeah.
oh look, there's there's John Collier. He's part of the scene there, the society, and he's actually flown a couple of times to see bands that he likes on Blues on the Water. Um,
Fantastic.
you know, there's Jesse Valanche and God, so many people that are doing such a great job there in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I think that, everybody should get behind the blues movement in Sydney and, not let Melbourne win.
Well, the thing is, I've had this idea because I I don't. There's not a day goes by where I don't get at least one idea,
Yeah.
and my idea to support not only the musicians but the venues, the small venues, that like the Butcher's Brew in Dulwich Hill.
Yes.
Like Caroline does a great job. The thing is, I've got this thing in my head, blues buddy, and it's to get an army of blues lovers that we can say, okay, look, today PJ O'Brien's playing at Butcher's Brew. Let's all go and support him, because at the end of the day, it's a door deal. So
Yeah.
that's what they get paid,
Yeah. Yeah.
and do this with especially the smaller venues,
Mm-hmm.
that are sometimes struggling. But if I can get an army of like 200 people, then which shouldn't be hard really. And
No.
not only support view blues venues, but just say, okay, let's also have a night out here and let's go for dinner there. You mix it up a bit, but 80% of it will be supporting blues music, you know?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that idea. And as a matter of fact, you must be a little bit psychic, Tony, because I had that idea myself about adding like an extra day in the week where I would have people send me all their stuff and promote, do a show just promoting. So, but
Yeah,
I haven't got that far as to make that a reality yet. But that was my idea as well. So, I think
yeah.
if two people are having that same thought, then I reckon more people are having that same thought.
Well, yeah, let's hope so. The thing is, too, that there isn't enough work for musicians to be working as regular as once there was, right? So
True.
if those musicians on their day or nights off, go and support each other as well as the punters, then that that also helps.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know myself having people that come to your gig and go, "Oh, hi, I thought we'd just drop in and see, watch your show for a while." That lifts you up. That makes you feel
Oh,
really good.
100%, 100%. Like and you're always grateful for that support, as you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Tony, what was the first band you sang in? Would it have been Geezer?
No, no. Way before Giza, because it was 1967, so I was 16.
Yeah.
And what happened was, uh, I, I've always, most of my life, I've had a day gig. So I, um, I got off the train with I just moved in with my cousin to be closer to my work because I was traveling quite a few hours to get to work.
Mm-hmm.
And um, we got off the train and I started singing an Elvis song for some reason on the way home. We had about a kilometre and a half to walk home.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Oh, you haven't got a bad voice." And I said, "Oh, you reckon?" He goes, "No." He said, "Do you want to join the band?" I said, "What band?" Because I didn't know he played guitar. He
Right.
said, "Well, I play rhythm guitar because I don't forget I just moved in with them.
Mm-hmm.
I play rhythm guitar, and my mate is the lead guitarist. And if you want to join, you can be the singer, and we just have to find a rhythm section." And like, God, I went, "I'm in."
Absolutely.
Anyway, we found a couple of guys, a rhythm section that had been together for a little while, and in those days you could rehearse in the garage because they were on acreage anyway. And the first song I ever sung was Gloria by them,
Mm-hmm.
and we got through that and a couple of others, and the band was formed. We 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 chose to call ourselves the Playboys.
Oh.
But then, of course, as you might know, we found out there was already a Playboys.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
then I took a bit of time out and came up with an original name called, which was the Verb. Because back in those days it was them, and that kind of thing. The Beatles, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
so I came up with the Verb. So the Verb was the very first band,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, it was I had some time out because um,
Life.
I got married young, and then in 73, I thought, "I'll blow this. I want to join a gigging band," because
Mm.
we were in the Verb. We were rehearsing more than
Playing.
playing, and I you could look in the Sydney Morning Herald on Sundays, and there'd be ads for musicians, and this band were looking for a singer, and they were only like about 5 kilometres away.
Hmm.
So I went there, and I went there with my mate, and they said, "Look, you made us to stay outside." And I thought, "Oh, okay, this has got to be serious." And I got the gig, and that was Giza.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was Giza. Now, was
yeah.
Ray in it already when you joined?
Ray
Ray Falzon.
Gazan, yeah, he was. So what happened? They were called Solid Ash, and they were changing it to Giza when I joined.
Right.
Yeah, so Ray was there. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, he's a great friend of mine, Ray. I adore him.
right. Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen him for a while. He keeps on like I've been saying. I've mentioned a couple of times to catch up, but I
Life.
think the
Life
only
gets in the
time
way.
I saw him was at Terry Holliday's at funeral, who obviously went to replace. Well, Alan replaced me, and then Terry replaced Alan. Yeah.
Yeah. So after Giza, what band did you go on to from there?
So after Giza, um, I wasn't having a good trot at home. My marriage was in tatters.
Oh, sorry to hear
Um,
that.
oh well, that's how things go, unfortunately. But so my wife was really happy that I'd finished up in Giza, because what happened was they were having um, a music change, and I didn't want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to become like more commercial, and good luck to them because they went on to do well.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided to manage a band called Dorian Gray,
Oh.
and anyway, what happened was I bought Steve Rondo, who used to manage Giza, because we were still mates,
Mm-hmm.
and just to have a listen and let me know what his thoughts were. Anyway, the vocalist took a tantrum and just stormed out of the rehearsal,
Wow.
and I was really embarrassed. And I said to the guys later on, I said, "Has he done that before?" "Oh yeah, he's done it quite a few times." And I said, "Well, if you want me to manage you get rid of him. We're not having that."
No.
Anyway, with it, they got rid of him, and then a week later, I got a phone call saying, "Tony, look, as well as managing us, would you like to sing
Oh,
in the band?"
nice.
So
Nice.
so I joined, and that was the end of my marriage.
Yeah, right.
But it was it wasn't going that well. It hadn't been going on well for about 3 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was Dorian Gray after that.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
so you've got a current band which is Arc Riders.
Yeah, so you know, I would really say that this is my dream band, because fine, and even the original Ark Riders with Juan, um, that was my dream band, and um, this is a continuation because this lineup is just as good, and I'm lucky to have Tony Boyd, who was the Ark Riders drummers. He's still on board.
Oh, fantastic.
Um,
He's great. He's great.
yeah, yeah, and his mate is Christian Young,
Hmm.
and they've been playing together as a rhythm section for like 16 years. So I'm blessed with having that rhythm section. And then when we were doing the 30th, the 20th anniversary of Gin House Blues Band, um, a young guy was on board, young Nicky Dunn, and he came up, had a bit of a jam, and next thing I asked him to join the band. So, we've got a 21-year-old guitar player and a 23-year-old keyboard player that keep me on my toes anyway.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Tony, I think
Yeah.
you need keeping on your toes.
Oh, 100%.
You're a little
100%.
cheeky.
I know.
And
Yeah.
so, have you
Yeah.
got a funny story for me from any gig that you've been that you've performed at, or that you've been to, or from maybe the blues cruise?
A funny
Yeah,
story.
because I'm sure there's quite a few.
Oh God, you know what? I'm sure there is too, but um, you know, nothing jumps to mind, unfortunately. One thing that does jump to mind is we were playing Beaches Hotel at Thirroul. It's a great hotel,
Yes.
and you know, in a beautiful part of the world, Thirroul. Anyway, I had Jan Reinsart because I used to manage Jan when he was like 16. I came across him and I was managing him, and then he became part of the Gin House Blues Band,
Hmm.
and we were playing at Beaches Hotel, and all of a sudden, these two guys started getting stuck into his mate, like right in front of the stage.
Oh.
And I jumped off the stage first, and Jan followed me. So 1 minute we're there playing, and next minute it was like, I mean, it didn't get that ugly or anything like that, but you know, but yeah, so that's the funniest thing I can think of at the moment. 1 minute playing on stage, next minute two of us sleeping, and the stage, it was a decent height.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but anyway, because both like it was just like, no, you're not going to do that to our friend, blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, how would you say, Tony, that the music scene in general, not just blues, but the music scene in general, has changed over the last 30 years? Do you think it's in a positive way? Is it more refined? Do people behave better? Or was it more rowdy and people just. Is it rowdy now? I don't believe it's rowdy now.
No, no,
Not at
it's not
all.
real.
Not from my point of view.
No, that's right. Because I mean, we're all older now, and hopefully a little bit more sensible. Um, and I say hopefully because there is that 1 or 2% that aren't. But anyway, most of us are pretty sensible. You can't beat days gone by. I mean, God, you know, Giza was my first professional band, and in those days, you played in halls like Hornsby Police Boys Club, Curl Curl Youth Centre, the Cabramatta and the Ukrainian White Eagle Halls, all those places. Now, there'd be three bands on a bill. You'd be opening up, like you'll be on a bill with Sherbet. We did Ariel. We did Ted Mulligan. We did
Oh,
so many Chained, Lardy Dars, Band of Light, and you'd play to 2,000 people,
yeah, yeah,
And even if you were the first band on, the kids would be screaming like you were the headliner,
yeah,
you know.
right.
So you really can't beat those days. And in those days, there was not wasn't alcohol. It was soft drinks, etc. So it was pretty. Everybody was pretty cool. But then if you had to go back to well, look, blues when it comes to blues, getting back to blues,
Yep.
the audiences are pretty cool. You don't get a lot of trouble. If you get trouble, it's usually from a blues fan that's bought a mate because they're catching up or whatever,
Yep.
and he's not really a blues fan. So yeah, people that are into blues are usually you know fine, and
More refined. Yes.
yeah. I mean, going back to rock and maybe the 70s and the 80s, yeah, look, people tend to drink a bit too much or whatever, and sometimes get out of control.
Yeah.
But these days, look, the average age is probably 50 to 65,
Yeah.
and you'll get you get some 45 year olds, whatever, but they're the main ages. So, usually people are pretty good.
Yeah, I believe that too. What do you think that we can do as a movement, the blues movement? What do you think we can do to attract younger audiences? And number two, to get venues not just playing rock but including blues bands as well.
Look, that's a good question. Um, you know, it's I find, because like, I love young musicians, and I try, when I come across a young musician, like, I don't know if you've heard of Lil G,
Yes, I have.
Lil.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we had her on Blues on the Water, and I always try to help these people as much as I can.
yeah,
Um, but what you'll find is that the young people that are interested in blues, it's been handed down from their parents.
yes,
Um, Otherwise, you know, I wish I had the answer to how, that you just asked, how could we get young people into blues? And unfortunately, I don't, because every young person that I've ever met has been encouraged by their parents, and they're usually a musician.
yes,
You'll never. I don't think I've seen young people um, come to blues gigs that don't play, or not many anyway, or
yeah,
they might have come with their young blues musician friend. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
What's
and what was
interesting to me is we played at the Annandale like literally just before COVID. We were the
right,
Crystal Blues Band in those days. And
right,
young, they were really young, just walking by on the sidewalk. And
yeah,
people were saying to me, have a go at these people, these kids out there dancing. And I'm like, oh, how cool is that? Come inside and dance. Just
yeah,
don't walk on by, come on inside.
yeah. Look, I have seen that happen, where where was I recently? I was, oh, that's right. I was supporting some friends who were playing the Piermont Bridge Hotel,
Yeah.
and people are just walking by because it's an afternoon gig, the blues gig there,
Mm-hmm.
and they just wander in because it's free, and yeah, you can see there wasn't a lot of young people in there, but you could see these, and I think they were tourists, but they wandered in and they were loving it.
Yeah.
So it does happen, but um, I don't know if it happens on a
Regular
on a
basis. Yeah.
regular, yeah, basis, yeah, yeah. So
It's funny, isn't it? It's well, not funny, but very interesting to me that there's so many cover bands out there, rock
yeah,
cover bands, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't mind the
no,
odd one myself,
yeah,
but it just seems that drive people have for that doesn't
yeah.
fold
Look,
over to blues, and it's such a shame. You know,
yeah, yeah, Crystal. People like familiarity, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that they like listening to what's on the radio, and the different cover bands. But having said that, a lot of those bands aren't working anywhere near as what they used to, because I've got a friend, and he used to, well, I've got a few friends that worked in rock bands, and they're just doing solos now, because guess what, they get a lot more work. Instead of having to split, you know say a
five
thousand
ways, yeah.
dollars 5 ways, they go out there and they're making, I kid you not, 400, sometimes $500. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
you know
It's
I could never do that, because I want to play what I love to play. I'm not doing it for the money,
yeah,
and that's why I've always had a day gig. But some of these guys are wholly and solely musicians, and um, if they're going to basically make a living out of it, they've got to do as much as they can to to
to
put
earn the
bread on the
money.
table. And so
Absolutely.
that's what they do. They do 2 or 3 solo gigs, and they're getting, 1,200 for the 3 gigs.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
less hassle trying to organise 4 or 5 people.
exactly. They've only got to worry about themselves,
Yeah, yeah. And it's such a shame though that that's come to that.
I know,
You
I know.
know, because what we love to play is blues. I absolutely adore it. That's
Yeah,
our groove, my husband and I. And
right.
but do we get gigs doing that? No.
Yeah, I know, I know. And the thing is, you know, as you might know, since COVID, a lot of gigs have popped up, small gigs, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I can't believe how many gigs are in Marrickville.
Yes.
Um, but they're small gigs, they're not equipped for bands. And, if you want to play there, they're going to offer you 450.
Yeah,
And it's like,
right.
hey,
Exactly.
you know, um,
It
and if people do it, it's because of the frustration that there's no gigs out there. And look, let's treat it. It's better than paying $100 to go rehearse, and let's just do the gig.
Yeah, look, I find that too, where it's like I'm trying to push our band
Yeah,
and they go, oh, a band. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, do you have a duo? And I go,
yeah,
well, yeah, we do. And they're like, oh, well, we'll book that.
yeah.
Like,
No, look, yeah, I know,
it
I
gets
know.
kind of, gets very frustrating. I wish the venues, because they have money coming in from punters, right? They're
Yeah,
going to, especially places like, for example, Parramatta or the inner city or wherever. They have their regular clientele that are going to come in after work anyway, or on the weekend. So they'll get money from all those punters. I mean, drinks, $12 for a drink for a beer,
I know, I know.
So, but they don't want to pay a band.
Yeah.
And I'm not having a
Look,
go because I want to work, but it's quite frustrating. I don't quite understand the dynamics of why.
yeah, this is the other reason I'd like to get Blues Buddy happening, and like, because if a band plays a venue and it's a door deal, then you know and some of these venues only hold 50 people. They're only small. But
Yes,
if you can get people to pay $20, you know and get 50 people in there, then that band is going to make a reasonable wage.
yes, yeah, yeah.
And if we all support one another, then it could be a healthy scene,
I think
like
so. Yeah,
like Melbourne. But I mean, that's why I'm trying to get Gig Buddy off the ground. So,
yeah, yeah. And I think
but
we can do that by this kind of medium, and also there's other ways. I have some ideas in my head for other ways as well, so maybe we need to talk about that later.
yeah, sure. Yeah, look, I'm grateful for anybody that comes forward and wants to be a part of um,
Yeah,
the idea of making Sydney a bigger and better blues community.
yeah, I think it
Yeah,
needs to be, because we've got excellent musicians, and there's not one person in the blues scene I could say that I don't love.
yeah, right,
Do you
yeah,
know what I mean? They're all accommodating, they're all kind, genuine, and great musicians,
yeah, yeah,
you know. So, and now recording. So, in your time as being in different bands,
yeah.
have you recorded your songs? Have they been original songs? Have they been covers? How did it kind of manifest?
So just before I formed the Arc Riders, and that was 7 years ago, right? I thought to myself, because I've been in the business now 57 years, so
Wow.
I was coming to my 50th year in the business, and I said to myself, because don't forget, you know, because of my European background, I've always worked. I've always had a day gig.
Yep.
But I, I was coming up to my 50th year, and I'm going, Tony, okay, you've got a few demo tapes, and we recorded an EP, but you really need to have an album. It's been 50 years. So on my walks, I started like thinking, and I end up um, writing 5 songs, and then and it was the first time I'd had to go at writing. And
Mm-hmm.
then my granddaughter had a song, and so we recorded that. So what happened was, when I had those songs, plus I gave some favourites like Peter Green from the original Fleetwood
Yes,
Mac,
yes,
Rory
yes, yeah.
Gallagher tunes, but we put our own spin. But I didn't have a band, so then Ryan, the bass player from Chase the Sun, had just had a studio happening in the Blue Mountains. He just got it together. I think I was the third person in there, and he said, Tony, why don't you use us as the core band? So I used Chase the Sun. I was lucky enough to have Chase the Sun as the core band.
Oh,
And then we
cool.
brought in Cass Eager, who's a dear friend of mine. She did some backing vocals. And then we were lucky enough to get Lockie Doley and, put some key tracks on there.
Yep.
So, and that ended up going to #1 on the Australian Blues and Roots charts. Um,
Fantastic.
yeah, it entered at #5, and the next month, because they're monthly, it went to #1. So I was, extremely happy with that. And now with the new Arc Riders, once we get this gig over on the 30th with Chase the Sun, we actually start getting together and penning a few songs, and hopefully have them all recorded before the end of the year, and then do a little tour to promote it around probably March, I'm thinking, at this stage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, had you toured earlier on in your career at all? Or will this
Yeah,
be, you
yeah,
have? Excellent. And
yeah.
whereabouts did you go?
So look, it's mainly been, up north, Newcastle, Canberra, down south as far as probably a bit further than Milton. I've never gone interstate, but with the new band, I've got connections now,
Yep.
and the thing is, you'd go down there and do 3 gigs, but the bottom line is, you're doing it to promote your band. You're not really going to come back with, you know, a pocket full of money. You know what I'm saying? Because
No,
by
well,
the time you pay,
that was my next question. Does it pay well?
no, because once again, you're going to be lucky to get $600 to $800 gigs,
Yep.
and personally, I wouldn't go. I know some people that do, but I'm not going to go down there for less than 3 gigs.
No,
So
no.
let's say you get $800 and a $600. What's that? 2,200.
Yep.
So by the time, if you're lucky, they might put you up with a com, but you still got your petrol. You still got to feed yourself. So, and if they don't put you up with a com, you're going to come back with virtually not much at all, if
Yeah.
anything.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
but you do it because you love music, and it's still, at my age, it's still an adventure.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I always say to my husband, I say, I've just had a call from a country town.
Yep,
Want to go on a road trip, and he'll go, I don't even care how much it pays. Let's go.
that's right, because you treat it as a paid holiday. That's how I like to think about
Absolutely.
it. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, I was lucky for, I think, four years. we used to do. There was a pub there in Mudgee, and we used to do Blues Explosion. So they'd put us up for 2 nights. We'd get there the night, 3 nights actually. We get there the night before. They'd put us up for 3 nights. They'd feed us, and they even paid us reasonably there.
Yeah,
So,
fantastic.
so we just treated it as a paid holiday, and that's really the way you got to look at it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
If you want to work regular or even go into state, because once upon a time I had Mason Rack, I had Dream Boogie, and a lot of other bands coming from interstate. Not anymore, because why? It doesn't pay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
A lot of those guys have got day gigs now, where once upon a time they didn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What a shame, eh?
Yeah.
What a
But
shame.
but that's what it's come to, and you know we do have up and coming young blues musicians,
Yes.
but I'm thinking, well, in put it this way, in Sydney, with like, what young audience are they going to have? Because as we said earlier on, we're not getting a lot of young people into the blues,
No, no.
that actually go out there and listen to blues.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but a lot of the young people that I see coming up are really talented, and guess what? If they're serious, they're going to go to the States or somewhere like that, because that's where. I mean, do you know Kim Churchill?
Yeah.
So I gave Kim Churchill one of his first gigs. The guy doesn't stop touring Canada and Europe now.
Yeah.
He's hardly ever in Australia.
Yeah. I was talking to George Regardus last night, and he
Yep,
said that the scene in America, especially in New
yep.
Orleans, he said is just, that's where it's at.
Well,
And Clarksville as well.
yeah. I mean, yourself, Crystal, they've got the population there to support it.
Yes,
We
yeah.
don't. We might have, I think it's 5 million people in Sydney, but the blues population is, like, as small as.
Yeah, a tiny,
and
tiny
and and
fraction.
and then, because of the age group, you know, I haven't seen a lot of my followers for ages, because they're either on the road now, they're doing their road trips.
Yeah,
They've moved away because they're downsized and they want to move away from Sydney.
yeah.
They've got a loved one that needs caring, so they can't go anymore. There's all these different reasons why a lot of people, have disappeared off the blues scene.
Yeah, right,
Um,
right. And COVID
so
also had a lot to do with it as well. Because one,
that's
one,
right.
one day
They
we were
got used
gigging,
to
next
staying.
day
Yeah,
gone.
they got used to staying at home.
Yes.
I kid you not, my best supporter, and thank God he still supports me, but he used to go to at least 2 gigs a week, right?
Yep.
Since COVID, you're lucky he'll go to my gigs and hardly anywhere else.
Yep, yep, yep.
So, and he used to go an average 2 gigs a week.
Wow,
So yeah,
it's a kind of a sign of the times, isn't it?
and even when they get on the pension, they don't have that extra money to spend.
No,
There's
not when beers are $12.
well, yeah, there's all these different um, reasons why you know the blues crowd is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah. Well, I think we should do our best to explode it
Yeah,
and make it more popular. And I'm sure I can promise you I'll be doing everything I can think of to do that.
yeah. Well, Crystal, like, if you have any ideas, I'm so happy to listen to them, because
I
at
do.
the end of the day, as I said earlier in this conversation, I'm only one person,
Yeah. Mm.
and thank God, people like you and others, um, you know, will actually appreciate what I do, and that's what keeps me going. Um, Plus, I've got the drive anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's really nice to be appreciated. Um, yeah, and as long as I can, I'll try and improve the scene. But it would be good to get other people on board because it just makes it, you know, that much easier.
Absolutely. Now, we did talk a little minute ago about you doing some recording.
Yeah,
So, do you have something that you could be sending me that I can just slot into the interview, and we
yeah,
can have a listen to something original of yours? That would be fantastic, and I'm sure everybody would love to hear it.
yeah, sure. So look, I'll send you up Illawarra train because we live in the Illawarra.
Yep.
And actually, Leah, um, there was a day there where she says, "Oh, look, I really don't feel like going on the blues cruise." It was the only day, and I said, "Well, look, me and Cameron have just wrote, um, put down some guitar and stuff for this song," and I said, every time I went into a train, you hear doors closing, please stand clear.
You
I,
do.
I And I said, that's got to be the chorus. And anyway, she'd never written a song. By the time I got home, she'd written the whole bloody thing,
Oh, there
And
you go.
yeah, yeah. And it's a nice commercial song, the most commercial song on the album. Yeah,
And what would be
and
the name of the album?
it's just the Arc Riders because it was the first album. So I just chose it to be the Arc Riders.
Yeah. So where could people purchase that from?
So look, don't ask me how you Google the Arc Riders and all of a sudden, it's on different platforms. Don't ask me. But the best thing to do is probably contact me and I'll gladly sell you a copy. And that way I get all the money.
Well, that's exactly right. I seen
Yeah.
statistics the other day for all the different platforms,
Yeah,
and I just thought, oh my God, you're kidding. That's all the artist gets?
I know. I know. They tell me the best thing to do is to be on Bandcamp, and because they pay about 75%.
Okay, yeah.
But the thing is, as you know, most people listen to Spotify, and God knows how many plays you've got to get before you earn a cent.
Oh, quite a
It's
few.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
So the
quite a
best thing
few.
to do is to contact the artist, whether it's me or anybody else. They've usually got copies, and that way they get the whole kit and caboodle.
And
You
I
know,
think that that's what should happen too. So people could contact you through Arc Riders on Facebook, through
that's
Blues Explosion on Facebook, and through Blues Cruise.
or my page, Tony Cini, and that way, I mean, if people contact me, I'm happy to even give them a deal. Like we've got a DVD of my 50th anniversary. I'll throw in a DVD, which is normally $25, and the album for $30. Just
Oh, that's fabulous.
because there's not that many gigs, so I'm better off reducing the price, and let somebody have a listen rather than the stock sitting in my garage, which is the
100%.
case for a lot of musicians.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right, well, Tony, thank you so much for being on the show this evening. I've really enjoyed our chat. I think you're a fabulous fella, and I look forward to talking with you more about what we can do to get the blues going a bit better. And I certainly look forward to talking with you again in the future on this podcast.
No, great, Crystal. So, yeah, it's been good to be on, and yeah, I'll look forward to hopefully hearing from you. I'm sure I will.
You will.
And if we can put some ideas together and get it all happening in Sydney, that'd be great.
I think we can do it between the two of us. We can do it, and between the blues community as well.
Yeah, get a few people on board.
I think so. All right, Tony. Thank you so very much, and I'll call it good night.
Good night.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Crystal.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And here is the track that Tony sent me. It's called Immigration, and it's his band, The Ark Riders. Enjoy.
So they bought a terrace in
Thank you for listening to Tony, Cini and I this evening. You have been listening to Conversations with Crystal. I am your hostess, Crystal. And until next time, please stay safe, stay happy, stay cool, stay awesome, but most of all, stay tuned to this channel. Good night.